5 corrections. All right, give me your name, tell me your charge, and tell me how the hell we stop crime, man. Folks on the outside are saying, Jesus Christ, all these criminals have got their rights, where are my rights?
Well, my name is James Grady, and I'm charged with aggravated assault of hitting an officer. Now, I was drunk during the time. I've just been released from Racine and Monroe.
Prison.
It happened on Roosevelt and Halstead.
Get to the point, though, man. How do you stop the crime?
Now, this is the basic rules I think that we should establish. A system should be set up to rehabilitate all these criminals in here by having them all interview a specific type and group of people to come and interview these cases, covering from all these that are major crimes, starting from say a felony on up, to 30, 60 days on up, to rehabilitate these people, a specific system that they may be interviewed. We go to court, and time again, we comes back and forth. That gets to be exasperating. If a man is going to give you some time for the crime that you committed, go on and give it to him. Why lay up here? And we have improper food and so forth, and it's now we sleep on the floor all kinds of ways, and some sleep in the day room, some sleep in the cell.
I got your point. You know, I'm not trying to cut you short, but I want to get some of these other... Talk to you in a minute. Okay. What's your name? What's your charge? And you know the question.
Stop crime. We're trying to compensate the person that's victimized for his loss. Hey, listen, wait a minute. How can you stop that? And how can you give people money when the president himself is bringing people over here causing depression? See, when you cause depression, you don't have nothing for the minorities. They got to steal. They got to take. Why? Because it starts from the top. That's all I got to say.
I'd like to know your name, your charge, and you know what we're talking about. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
My name is Jimmy Fletcher. I'm here for attempted burglary. I've got 10 years.
What do you think about mandatory sentencing, Jim?
Depends on how you mean by mandatory sentencing. If you mean like for property crimes or for vicious crimes against people. I think, personally, I think Governor Walker has a good idea there with shorter mandatory sentences, providing, of course, that the money he's going to save by abolishing the parole board could be invested toward rehabilitative programs. Well, let's face it, most of the guys that are here for property crimes are here basically because of bad work habits, right? Mostly bad work habits. They get into bad work habits and pretty soon they're involved in crimes. I understand the Department of Corrections has had quite a success with the work release program. You know, the work release program, of the recidivist rate on a work release program is like 1/3 of what it is for people that have spent their time in prisons. If this money could be that's saved on the parole boards could be put into programs to teach men trades and let them get into work habits through the work release or similar programs like that, it seems to me like there would be a lot less recidivism.
How many times have you been through this before?
Because when men get around 35, 40, 45, the recidivism rate tends to get lower and lower as people get older, rather than the big recidivism rate is with youngsters, younger guys. When the guy's younger, the more likely they are to come back. But after the second and third time, as men get older, more mature, they begin to see the light. So therefore, why lock a man up for the rest of his life? Because when he's 30, 35, 40, settles down a bit, probably never will have no more trouble out of him.
Thank you. Let me do this fellow right. I'd like to know your name, I'd like to know your charge, and we're talking about people who are in prison. Folks on the outside think maybe it's not going to work. Maybe some folks should just be put away forever because you're not going to ever help them.
Well,
your name and your charge first.
My name is Prophet Curtis Metcalf, and I'm charged with murder. I'm I'm a prophet. I've been in many prisons all through the United States, and I haven't seen much justice coming from the top. If the president want to do something about crime, when he start to clean it up from the top, and then it trickle down to the lower class of people, to the poor class of people.
But some people are going to say that's a cop-out on your part.
A cop-out? What do you mean a cop-out on my part?
That you're making an excuse for yourself. You're
No,
saying
I'm
you
not
clean
making
it
no
up there.
I'm not making no excuse for myself, but the peoples that have it is in authority, them the ones that should clean it up first. They should have a clean house there at the top. Then when they clean it up from the top, then the little man ain't got no chance of committing no crime.
Can you understand that people are, in fact, concerned about crime on the streets? Do you see any justification for the fear that people have?
Justification, but that's why crime should be cleaned up from the top, because they haven't got no right to commit crime, because they're the one in authority, and that's why crime should be started cleaned up from the top. The ones that got the power, the one that's in charge of things, they the one that commit all the crime. They commit all kind of crimes all over the world every day. And they the one need to stop committing crimes, then maybe the little people will stop. They're leading the little people wrong by committing a lot of crime themselves.
Okay, like your name, your charge, and you know what we're...
Way would eliminate the cost of feeding us and housing us. If they're no more concerned than that, just go ahead and get rid of it.
You're not serious.
Yeah, well, why? I'd just soon be dead to spend my life in prison, know that I had no hope of coming out.
How many times have you been in before?
This is the second time. Never here. Once in Ohio and one time here. And I've been in here 24 months and 3 days, and I can't even get tried.
All right, I want to know your name, your charge, and what you were talking about concerning rehabilitation.
My name is Daniel Fagan, and my charge is armed robbery burglary. And being young, I don't have too much dealings with the adult division of the Department of Corrections, but in dealing with the juvenile division serving time, I underwent programs that were designed and set up for rehabilitation to keep me out of where I'm at right now. These programs were, and I went through a lot of them, were impractical. There was no use for them. To build small lawnmower engines and to learn how to drive a car. Things like this were considered rehabilitation for me. I was taken out of high school 2 months before graduation. That was my, big rehabilitation, to learn how to drive cars. There's no programs to keep a young man from committing crimes later, and there's no programs for an older man to commit.
All right, now you're in here with a lot of fellows who are a lot older. They've got a lot more experience than you. You've been hearing a lot from them. When you get out of here, you're going to try to go straight as a result of what they've told you, or you're going to become a little hard and a little bitter about it and say, the hell with it?
I'm bitter from being here as it is. I'm here 12 months now without trial. If I'm released or if I get a break,
Your charge, and whether you think there are guys in this tier who are beyond rehabilitation.
My name is Jesse Cobb, and I'm charged with carrying a concealed weapon. And which I'm 49 years old. I had a job working at the steel mill. So now I try to get the judge which to give me a year's probation suspended sentence, which so that I could hold my job. Now, I cannot get a job like this no other type of way. Now, like the guy said, I was making $150, $250 a week. All right, now, I probably lose my job. I can't get no job. Okay, I got a family. What's for me to do? I ain't got nothing to do. I got to go out in the streets and get me something. My kids can't go hungry. They can't go hungry. The man give me 90 days. I lose my job. What else for me to go back out there and do something?
All right, okay.
Increase the cost because they have more people behind. But it reduces, it's going to raise the cost. But it reduces. It's going to make the men more dangerous when they do that. The longer time they spend, the more dangerous they are. What we need really is a change in the judicial system. That would be wrong. That would take too long. They don't take it to a goddamn jail no more. They take it to a hospital. Guys, a good work habit, give the guy something to work for, a decent job out there, a decent house, a decent wife, keep on his ass.
The fact is, you think there are people who can't be released?
No such thing. That's like saying you can't be hypnotized. I mean, don't you be hypnotized.
What the president talking about?
I would say the likelihood of some guys not being rehabilitated is really great.
That's all right. They're not bothering us at all. Okay, I'm talking. And we'll be ready to go in just a minute, and I've got to keep talking to you. And I truly do appreciate your time. I was getting draggy in there, and I didn't want it to keep going. But you know, it's the kind of thing where I.
Just get the name.
All right, so let's talk just a minute about what we were saying earlier about the kinds of people here, careers, and all the rest of it, and you know what we were talking about earlier.
Right. Well, I think that personally it's a sad state. The fact that an individual would be put in a career of crime, so to speak. We do have individuals in here who lifestyle totally encompasses the fact that he's going to commit crimes, he's going to come in jail. In some cases, he gets ready for this. He builds himself a fund for attorneys and for bail money, and he knows he's going to get arrested. He knows he's going to get busted, and he knows in some cases he's going to go to the penitentiary. This is basically because the system, in some cases, has contributed greatly to this. This mandatory sentences on crimes has been tried in many states. In essence, in my opinion, you're giving up on the individual. You're saying, okay, after X number of times, 3, 4 times, a mandatory sentence of life or a mandatory sentence of 20 years. It's not going to help. You need to deal with the person individually, and you need to have programs that are effective for that person.
But they've got to come from the same government that is perhaps getting frustrated with the failures of the past.
Yeah, well, the prisoner himself has to have a completely different outlook. He has to have confidence in the criminal justice system. He has to have confidence in whatever rehabilitation programs he will enter into, educational programs. If he doesn't have confidence in the programs, then the programs are a waste.
You think he should have confidence in the programs, in this system?
In this present system, the state penitentiary system, I don't think he'll ever have confidence in. In the county jail or the Department of Corrections here at the county, some of the programs we have, he should have confidence, and he should make the attempt because the people here are trying to deal with him effectively and trying to deal with him so it'll benefit him. No person is ever going to do anything. He'll never respect anything else till he first respects himself, and that's the whole problem.
And I want y'all to put on that how they enjoy the game. How they flies with TV.
And I was working for the guy who taught the program. I was promoted there.
Brother to the right.
Here we go. I'd like to know first of all what you feel the president is attempting to accomplish with this expected message, and what your experience has been in terms of jurisdictional differences.
Having been in both the state and federal systems around, they're just totally different. Even if you look at the number of prisoners, the two systems, for the U.S. Bureau of Prisons, they're running right now for the entire country about 20,000 inmates. Heck, the state of California alone has 24,000. Texas is running about 18,000. So that the federal system is kind of selective prosecution of federal crimes. The state system is what we normally call street crimes. I think the president, what he's trying to do is set a tone really for the nation. He knows that as president of the United States, he cannot do very much to affect street crime, since that's a state problem and a local problem. But he can set a tone and let the nation know that this is of national concern to the very survival of the nation.
What he also seems to be doing is saying that rehabilitation and what some see as leniency have failed and must be stopped. Do you agree?
Rehabilitation really never got off the ground because people tried on a liberal-conservative kind of continuum to say that rehabilitation was something that was going to solve all our problems. Those, I think, in corrections always knew it wasn't. It sounded good, it was sold to the public, it got packaged by the sociologists and university professors, and a lot of corrections officials felt that, gee, it made them look good. My rehabilitation statistics show is up this year, so whatever else they did didn't matter. But rehabilitation is just not a concept that you can really use in corrections, since you're putting people in institutions, and how a man operates in an institution has nothing to do with whether he will be dangerous on the street. That's very hard to get across, not only to corrections officials, but to the public.
Are mandatory sentences, do you feel, do they in any way approach the problem? for the repeater and for the violent?
Not really. Actually, all the states and even the federal government have always had mandatory minimum sentences. If you commit a felony with a gun, under the federal law, you have a mandatory 1 year and maximum 10 years. On your second offense, it's 2 years, 25 years. The federal statutes also have the special dangerous offender type of program where you can be sentenced under certain circumstances up to 25 years. I really don't think they have any effect in terms of safety on the street.
Why?
Well, you're trying to tell the judges exactly what they can do. I think in the state system, where you have many more types of mandatory minimum sentences, you'll find because of your mandatory minimum, you'll get charges reduced. Therefore, murder, which in Illinois historically has been 14 years minimum, will be reduced to manslaughter. So a guy will get 2 to 20. Rape, which used to be 4 years minimum, it would be broken down to deviant sexual assault. Armed robbery would be broken down to robbery. So the judges are always going to find ways around giving a mandatory minimum if they disagree with it in that particular case.
But of course, as you well know, there's a great deal of publicity, there's a great deal of clamor over what are many consider to be judges who are too liberal. You see people going through the courtrooms and then going back out on the streets to commit crime. I guess what the president's obviously trying to do is stop that. He wants to get the criminals off the street because there's obviously a big political pressure to do that. How does he achieve it?
Well, it's a difficult thing to achieve, and I think that what he's trying to do is not just a political thing. I think the nation's in a crisis of crime. There's no question, if you can't walk the streets, that this is going to affect people throughout the nation. The worst part, actually, of the criminal system today is that the people who live in the poorer areas, those who are on the fringe of poverty, are the ones affected the most because they're the ones who, whenever they acquire anything, a TV, a car, nice furniture, is immediately ripped off. And you get a cycle of poverty that recreates itself.
Gain headlines and political favor by some. That's not really addressing the problem. The problem is much more...
Well, I think it's addressing part of the problem, Ron. I think that basically the system's a disaster. It's absolutely a disaster. We lost the war in Vietnam, we've lost the war on crime. Everybody in the United States knows it. And to rectify that, I think you really have to analyze what we're doing in the system. It's my theory that you could double the budget of every criminal law agency or criminal justice agency in the United States and not have a very satisfactory effect on street crime. That just isn't going to be the answer. What you're going to have to do is decide what you do with offenders who, during a period of time of their lives, are repeat offenders. Now, for instance, you get an 18-year-old kid who's been robbing, purse snatching, burglarizing places. That kid you have to take and analyze out, after he's been convicted, not before he's convicted, as to what kind of potential he has on the street. And maybe he's going to have to be under close supervision till he's about 25, 26 years old.
But we're not doing that.
No.
Why are we not doing that?
Because no one's sitting down and organizing a criminal justice system as a system and thinking of it rationally. We're thinking what's liberal, what's conservative. We throw them in jails and penitentiaries that are what Chief Justice Berger says colleges of crime. They're certainly inhumane places. But we haven't stopped to think how to treat different offenders differently. We get mad at offenders, but we don't stop to think in terms of how to handle them. Probably the greatest thing in rehabilitation for an offender is age. The same guy who at 18 or 21 is an absolute terror, when he gets to be 27, is not a danger to the street most often. We have to recognize that and then deal with it accordingly.
But I don't understand why we have not been doing that. I mean, we seem to be getting rather vengeful about it all right now. Mandatory sentencing, we've all heard about law and order from previous presidential candidates and presidents. I mean, what you're saying seems so rational and so simple. Why must we go through the charade of what we're apparently doing?
Oh, I don't know. I think that it's hard to get all your different jurisdictions and people to sit down and run government as a business. I mean, if the criminal justice system was in a business sense term, it would be bankrupt. I mean, it would go out of business, but government doesn't go out of business. So if it fails, it keeps on going on anyway. And you have some movements around. Jim Thompson's given some speeches on it. Norval Morris at the University of Chicago has spoken to the problem, but you have very little. I don't know the answer. Why we haven't, why the public tolerates it. That's really interesting. Why does the public tolerate this kind of danger to their own safety?
They feel they have no control.
I suppose. That's sad.
What you're saying really is that what the president is about to propose probably is not going to eliminate much street crime.
I don't know what he's going to propose, so I can't predict. Just failed. You also get a lot of politics. When you get the money handed out, everybody wants for hardware. This police department wants more guns. This correctional system wants a bigger jail. There's no rational planning because everyone's trading off the money.
That's good. You're very good there.
Yeah.
Very well.
A little more,
Yeah. You want me talking?
Yes, please,
You did a good job for us, and I appreciate your candor. Yeah, that's very good, as a matter of fact. And there are, I got to be talking to you. The interesting thing are some of the perspectives that you get from each of the people that I've interviewed on this story, and they're so fascinatingly different. And I think that's just marvelous.